Recently I got contacted by an acquaintance with the question whether I could repair a little pocket radio she got from her father, who passed on not so long ago. And although the radio itself is not valuable in any sort of way, it does have some sentimental value to her, and she asked me if I could repair it so that it would work correctly again. Obviously there's some problem with it. She described it as a sort of noise that came out of the speaker on top of any music or speech from a radio station. Yeah. So I said yes, okay, I will take a look at it and I will try to repair it if I can. But I have to say I don't have any schematic of this radio, so I'll be working on it by the seat of my pants, so to speak. It doesn't have a brand, or at least if it had a brand, the escutcheon here dropped off a long time ago, and there's no brand that I can find anywhere on this radio. The only thing I can say for sure is that it can do FM and AM, which is cool for such a small radio. It does say here, copyright Micron technology. Now, I don't know what that means. Does it mean that it is, the brand is Micron or something? No idea. Anyway, so yeah, I'll just try to repair it. Alright, so the radio doesn't have too much of a way to get into it, except perhaps a little screw you see here in the battery compartment right there. So let's try that first. Whether that will allow us to get inside the radio. Hang on. So now I should be able to open it, I think. Let's see. Up. Okay. Alright, so what do we see in here? It's a little bit dirty. So what do I see here? I see a bar antenna, a ferrite antenna here. So this is more than likely for the AM part. And then I see this. What is this? Ooh. A coil of wire. No idea. That was inside the radio here, so maybe a kind of an antenna or something. No idea. Also, on the inside, on the back side of the radio, there are two coils. One coil has been crushed, I can tell right away, right here. So I'll have to fix that. And then it's connected to another coil here. Yeah, so I'm guessing this is a kind of an antenna, maybe. Yeah. I haven't seen this kind of setup yet in another radio. So what I propose to do is I will try to unmount the PCB of the radio. So I will try to extract it out of the case so that we can work a little bit easier on the radio. Alright, so this little radio is far more recent than I thought it would be. It's built around two integrated circuits, and one integrated circuit is the one you see here, which is a 9 inline little chip, with 9 pins. You see them here, alright. And that's an amplifier chip. I know that because not too long ago I read up on these kind of little integrated circuits. They were used mainly for low power amplification applications, like preamplifiers for headphones and stuff like that, or in this case like a little amplifier for a portable radio. The other IC is the one you see down there, and that is an integrated IF chip, which is meant to be used as an IF circuit for an FM radio. Alright, or maybe even a combination of FM and AM. Alright, so I'm not 100% sure, but my guess is that chip is for the FM part. The other components you see on the board are more than likely for the AM part of the radio. Alright, what I might do is replace the electrolytics just to be on the safe side. Alright, so yeah, let's give the board a cleaning front and back, and then have a look at the electrolytics on the board and replace them. Alright, so the IF chip, which you see down there, is in fact an LA1260. So in case we need to replace that chip, then I can easily find out what it does precisely and where I could get a replacement. I also found something else on the board, and which is that little hole you see down there, and right around that hole there's parts of the word ant, so I would say antenna. More than likely the little black coil of wire we found inside the case, so this here, was attached to that little hole down there. Before I start replacing the electrolytics on the little radio, why don't we quickly have a listen and see how it works right now, and then sort of do a before-after comparison, right? So I connected it up to its original 2 AA batteries, which are here, yeah, which are just whatchamacallit, no, these are not rechargeable batteries, but yeah, it kind of, I forgot how you call these batteries, but anyway, I connected it up to its original batteries, and why don't we have a listen, alright, so, and see how it performs right now before I start replacing the electrolytics, right? Okay, I forgot to say I'm on AM now. Yeah, AM where I live is not incredibly good. I mean, AM reception is very poor where I live. This is maximum volume, okay? Oh, this must be the camera. Yeah. This is interference from the camera. Actually, the speaker works far better at low volume than at maximum. Apparently, the speaker is not built to take the full output power of the little amplification chip. So if I push the volume to maximum, yeah, it doesn't perform well, the little speaker. Also, I don't know if you noticed, but the speaker is actually pointed towards the back of the radio. Strange, isn't it? So this is actually the front of the speaker, but it is the back of the radio. I wonder why they did that. Actually, this little radio doesn't have 2 chips, it has 3. So I figured out that this is an LA 1260 integrated circuit. This is more than likely an LA 1510, and then on the little tuner board itself, there is another chip right here. But it is so covered with glue, it's so covered in glue, and it's the space on the PCB is so cramped that no way can I find out what chip it is. At least not without the schematic. I would have to completely unsolder this PCB here, where the potentiometer and the tuning capacitor are mounted, and then unmount the tuning capacitor, etc., etc., to even come close to finding out what chip that is. Do you see something strange on the PCB? No? Well, let me tell you what's weird. This capacitor here is mounted in a spot which is meant for a resistor, and a resistor right next to it is mounted on a spot for a capacitor. Now I checked on the back of the print board, of the PCB in fact, and it really doesn't matter that much. I mean, the capacitor is mounted here in series with the resistor. Yeah. So, in my opinion, both are perfectly interchangeable, since they are both in series. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to switch positions between the resistor and the capacitor. Why somebody did that, well, it's anybody's guess. It's weird. Yeah, it's not logical. So I'm going to switch those two components, and since I'm going to replace the capacitor, I might as well replace the resistor as well. I'm measuring the current the radio draws when it's on, but the volume is at minimum. And as you can tell, the current it draws is a little more than 23 milliamps with the volume off. Now watch what happens to the current draw when I increase the volume. Yeah. Ouch. That draws quite a bit of current. And if you're going to play the radio loud on just two AA batteries, my bet is these batteries won't last very long. Yeah. At least not at full volume. At full volume, the tiny little radio will draw over 70 milliamps. So yeah, I don't think it's very efficient energy-wise, but the sound is great. I mean, I'm absolutely astonished at the quality of the sound. At least as long as you don't push it too hard with the volume. Alright, I put the radio together again, gave it a thorough clean, and as a finishing touch, I replaced the missing escutcheon by a blank new one, and since I don't know what the logo was, of the original escutcheon, I will keep this one blank. And actually it has a slightly golden tinted color, which seems to work rather well with the rest of the case. So yeah, a nice little finishing touch. Now what I did notice was that there is actually an antenna connector at the back. So you remember that little pile of black wire we found inside the radio, right? Well, it turns out that it was an end of wire, just a simple end of wire, with at the tip of it, or at the end of it, a little metal connector. Very primitive little connector, but it fits exactly in a tiny little hole there. And if you look closely, you'll see that it has a metal prong inside, so it's actually a metal connector, and this little pin fits straight right into it, like this. Just give it a good push there, and there you go. It's a cheap solution for an antenna, but well, it works fairly well. Obviously it's only for FM, but what I did as an other slight improvement was attach a little crocodile clamp at the other end of the wire, so that you can hang it up from anywhere convenient, like this, right? And there you go. Then you have an imperfect FM radio antenna. So, well, what I propose is to scan quickly the FM band, and obviously I won't linger on any radio station, but just to give you an idea of how the radio sounds, right? So here we go.
Music and more. M&M. So much you said you could give it all, but you could never give up. Equal love and advice. Doesn't matter. The pain you caused consoled me.
Alright, I did a little research and I found out that this little radio here is in fact an Altona 900-220 pocket radio. Probably Altona as a brand is owned by a company called Micron Technology. You'll remember that would be the company we found at the back here, where it says copyright Micron Technology. So Altona is probably a brand of that company. Now I did a little bit of extra research. this is supposed to be a miniature replica of an RCA Tulip front tube radio. Okay, so if I'm not mistaken, an RCA R350. So, and apparently the brand Altona is supposed to be specialized in replicas, in miniature replicas of vintage radios. Now, you remember that I said that the sound that came out of the little speaker was actually not that bad for a 2-inch speaker. The sound was actually rather good, and well, I started to make a bit of do a bit of research, and I found this. Let me show you. So, what we are certain of is that in the little radio there is an LA1260 Sanyo chip, alright? And after some more research I found out that that chip is actually meant to be used as an FM IF stage, and in the end, of course, also the audio frequency decoder, alright? And that would be what's built inside that little chip there. Now, the other chip next to it turned out not to be an LA1510, but an LA4510. It was so rubbed out, the type number, that I had misread. Now, the LA4510 is also, or was also produced by Sanyo, and it turned out to be, or it turns out to be, a 230 milliwatt end stage amplifier, which, all things considered, seems to be a relatively good match for the speaker, which is a 250 milliwatt 8 ohm speaker, right? Although, in my opinion, the LA4510 with its 230 milliwatts is clearly too much for the little speaker at full power. Yeah, it is. Yeah, the speaker is just not, well, at least this speaker, which is built into the radio, is not up to the task. At least not at full volume. Now, there is a third chip, and I told you that, well, I hadn't noticed the little chip, which was built on its separate little print board, right next to the tuning capacitor. Now, I can't read the type number of that IC, but doing a little bit more research, I think it's more than likely a TA7061 AP radio frequency or high frequency signal amplifier, or preamplifier if you wish. So, and that chip would be from Toshiba. Now, if you take into account that I said that the signal quality, at least FM sound quality rather, is quite good, well, if you preamplify the radio frequency signal with this chip and then send it into this chip, then, you know, in all likelihood the sound quality will be rather good. Now the AM band is in fact nothing more than a few components, like an oscillator mixer, an IF stage, and then a rectifier stage, to produce the AM. The AM sound is just as good as the FM sound, and that's probably to do with that it is also amplified by the LA 4510 IC. So all in all, actually, this little radio here, I'm not saying all the radios of the same brand, but this particular radio is absolutely not bad, where sound quality and selectivity of radio stations is concerned. So this is actually a quite good little radio, of course taking into account the limitations of a 2-inch speaker. Of course, you will never get a high fidelity sound out of this little radio, but yeah, for what it is, it's not bad at all. Also, I forgot to mention that I replaced in all 11 electrolytics, and except one or two, they were all pretty leaky. And by leaky I mean electrically leaky, not so much chemically. Okay, so they needed replacement. I think most of them are Sanyo capacitors, although I could be wrong, but it's so small that I can't read it right now, but I think at least a few of them are Sanyos. Okay, I also replaced one resistor here, which was supposed to be a 41 ohm, but after measurement it turned out to be 53 ohms. Yeah, so it was, well, 30% overvalue, you could say. So yeah, I replaced that little resistor as well, and then I cleaned it up, of course. So what I propose to do is give you is to scan rapidly through the FM band, local radio stations, and then and give you an impression of the sound of this little Altona radio. Okay, so I'll say for now, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time for another video on my channel.
Ja, er komt nu even zo'n beetje een lichter nummer, maar eigenlijk komt dat wel net op tijd, vind ik, op die plaat, voor de finale, zeg maar. Smackwater Jack, er zit een hele toffe Wurlitzer elektrische piano in, die mij denken aan Billy Preston. Dat is misschien omdat ik net naar die Beatles docu heb gekeken. Ja, dat is wel een goed moment als hij erbij komt. Maar het is iemand anders. Ralph Shuckett, maar dat heb ik moeten opzoeken.
상상을 만들어주는 girl 너는 내 별이잖아 얘 호주니까 지금 몇 시간 더 결국엔 잠시 We never get back at me Open up your plans and damn you Listen to the music of the moment people dance and sing We're just one Ik nooit echt aangewend en als je beweegt, kijkt iedereen